It was a blunder they will never live down. Harry and Meghan thought they were making a wise decision when they agreed to a tell-all interview with Oprah Winfrey back in 2021 and trashed the royal family. But now, almost 3 years later, it's evident that was a mistake that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Greetings and a very warm welcome. As a prince, I believe Harry was taught to be judicious with his words, to be careful about what he disclosed regarding himself and his family. Harry also had the support of palace PR professionals, who are very skilled at their work. They assisted him in covering up all his errors and misbehaviors. And growing up, Harry did end up in the headlines frequently. However, he asserts he did not desire that attention, that instead he was just attempting to live his life as a young man. And to some extent, I do believe him. I think after the trauma Harry endured as a boy, it was natural he would go through a wild phase. He was out partying, stumbling out of nightclubs. But Harry was forgiven for all this because remember, that was part of his persona. He was the cheeky, fun-loving prince who was happy and carefree. Perhaps a bit naughty at times, but it was part of his appeal. But even with all that, Harry truly remembered the family motto of never complain, never explain. He did not have a tendency to try to justify everything and seek more attention after articles about him were published. But then Meghan Markle entered and everything changed. Suddenly, Harry was desperate to share his perspective. Meghan helped him realize he had been suffering from generational anguish, as he termed it, that his father had passed on as a consequence of how his father was raised. Of course, we know that is a big pile of nonsense. But Harry believed every word from Meghan. And the pinnacle of Meghan's sway over Harry truly emerged in the Oprah interview in 2021, if not later in Spare. That Oprah interview was shocking, no doubt about it, because that was the first time we heard Harry and Meghan present their version of events, or as they put it, try to reclaim the narrative. That interview contained so many completely fabricated stories, so many exaggerations, and so many unsubstantiated allegations. And many of these unfounded claims are still being discussed in the media today. The most egregious, of course, is that two members, or rather in that interview, Meghan said it was one member of the royal family, had voiced concerns about how dark the baby's skin color might turn out while she was pregnant. And then Harry, of course, said no. The conversations occurred when they first started dating. But whatever, the damage was already done. For years now, people have speculated about who that family member could possibly be. And then, of course, in November, thanks to Omid Scobie's book, Endgame, we have a new tale. And then naturally in November, courtesy of Omid Scobie's book, Endgame, we have a new account. In Endgame, we finally received the names. Well, we learned actually, it was 2 names. Supposedly, King Charles and Princess Catherine had uttered something inappropriate about Prince Archie's skin tone before he was born. Do we believe it? Well, absolutely not. But Meghan hoped it would detonate and destroy the royal family. Of course, it didn't. Nobody believed anything written in Endgame because it was authored by Meghan and Harry's cheerleader, Omid Scobie, aka Scabies, aka Scooby-Doo. Since then, they've been threatening to ruin the royal family. Of course, there has been silence from both Buckingham Palace and Meghan Markle on the claims in Endgame. Naturally, Scooby said Meghan and Harry did not assist him with the book, but we know better. Much of the material in that book could only have originated from Meghan and Harry themselves, or people authorized to speak on their behalf. At this point, Endgame has been out for a couple months now, and what has become clear is that nobody really cares about what is in that book, except for the names revealed in the Dutch translation. According to Jack Royston, a royal correspondent, this is still a live issue in people's minds. Of course, he is referring to the discussions surrounding the royal family and racism. He said it was the big takeaway from the Oprah interview. Whatever Harry and Meghan may now say about whether they didn't intend that, it was the biggest takeaway from Oprah, and it always will be. This will always be the issue from Oprah, and Oprah will always eclipse the other things Harry and Meghan do in future years. And I agree with him. Normally, Jack Royston is more of a Sussex supporter than I consider myself to be. But lately, it seems he is changing. It appears he is seeing the Sussexes for who they truly are. Now, regarding the claim that this will follow Harry and Meghan for years, he is correct. And Harry even tried to backtrack on this. Remember, when he was doing interviews promoting Spare, he asserted that he and Meghan never said the family was racist, that the media spun it that way. But that's not what they intended to convey. Well, come on. You only have to listen to the interview. It's clear that's exactly what Harry and Meghan were implying, or at least Meghan. I think Harry was a little uneasy with the accusation. You could see his body language in the interview, and he didn't seem to fully endorse what Meghan was alleging. But he went along with it anyway, I suppose because he has no choice. And the fact is, once something like that is uttered, it cannot be unsaid. No matter what Harry and Meghan try to do to retract that allegation, it will never work. That interview is what people will remember. And I can only assume privately, this interview showed Harry exactly what his family had been attempting to tell him for years, that you must be judicious with what you say. That whenever you speak publicly, you've got to consider the ramifications. Clearly, Harry did not do that. Royston went on to say, when people look back, it will eclipse the Netflix documentary in Harry's memoir, his book Spare. And the reason it will eclipse those two things is because it came first. Because it came first, it established the narrative. It created the drama and the interest. It was the original manifestation of the Harry and Meghan perspective, and this was its centerpiece. I think this point Jack Royston makes is a very good one, and I don't believe it's one Harry and Meghan seem to grasp, or at least not Meghan. At this juncture, I think Harry just wants to lay low. He doesn't desire the attention anymore. I think he is perfectly content with their Hollywood careers falling apart, because he knows he's got his family to fall back on. Meghan, on the other hand, is becoming desperate. She's panicking now. I think Meghan can feel Harry slipping away, so she is desperate to try and reinvent herself before they divorce. She has to know after the divorce is finalized, she may be able to write a book that will sell because people will want the gossip about living with Harry. But after that, no, she has no career prospects. She will never be a Hollywood star or director or producer. She needs to abandon those dreams immediately. But this was wholly predictable. When Harry and Meghan built their brand on complaining about past events, they should have realized that was no way forward. In the future, what would they rely on? When the royal family stopped speaking to them, which was inevitable and has happened, what could they sell? The only thing they've profited from is trash talking and lying about their time as working royals. Ultimately, yeah, it brought in some money, but not enough to sustain them long term. I've said it before and I'll say it again. In today's world, we need positive role models, inspiration. We don't need a pair of entitled, privileged brats whining about perceived slights that just aren't that significant. At the end of the day, Harry and Meghan thought their accusations would cause such an uproar that everyone would turn against the royal family because King Charles dared wonder what his grandchild might look like before birth. Well, now we see most people sided with the royals. Most understand it's not wrong to ponder what a baby might resemble in taking after mother or father more. We know that was all the king meant. The king is not a racist. Nobody will believe he actually said something awful about Archie. Especially not when it's Meghan telling us, since we know she is dishonest. So Harry and Meghan really should have considered that beforehand. But Meghan couldn't because she is a narcissist. Meghan simply cannot consider how people will react to her claims or actions because she cannot relate to people. That is one of her biggest flaws. She lacks empathy and compassion. Something essential is missing within her. Due to Meghan's personality disorders, she cannot experience higher emotions like love, joy, and contentment that accompanies a life well lived. As I see it, Meghan Markle is doomed to be miserable. She will always be grasping for something just out of reach. She will never be satisfied, and so she will be miserable. I hope Harry can return to his family and find some peace eventually. But Meghan Markle never will. What do you think? Did Harry and Meghan have any chance of success after the Oprah interview? Please share your thoughts below in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please like and share it with anyone who would appreciate it too. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe so you don't miss any updates. Thank you so much for your support. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.